All right, well, we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining us, both in person and here online. My name is Evan Caldwell. I'm the Director of Communication with the Stanwood-Camano School District.
Right, and my name is Ryan Ovenell. I'm Deputy Superintendent for the Stanwood-Camano School District, and thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, and we're going to give you a quick little look at our replacement levy that is on the ballot and in some people's mailboxes today or maybe tomorrow. So we like to get started with just a little bit about the district. We have 10 schools across Stanwood and Camano. We have 4,700 students in the district, and we employ about 1,000 people, and that makes us the largest employer in the area, and that's worth knowing. It has implications as we think about this levy ballot. So one of the big questions that we get out in the community is, what is this levy about, and is this even a new levy or a replacement levy or an additional levy? So
yeah,
what have you heard out there?
Thanks, Evan. It is this levy is what we call an EP&O, Educational Programs and Operations Levy. It is a replacement levy. So this levy is replacing a levy that's in existence right now and is set to expire this year. One of the things that is interesting and worth noting, and a question that comes up often, is how much does this of our budget does this levy fund? And you can see from the donut graph up here that it funds about 16% of our revenue for the district. The majority of it, you can see, comes from state funding, which we call basic education. And interesting to note, the state has defined basic education as the start of the school day to the end of the school day. So anything that happens outside of that time that students might participate in is not funded by our basic education or state funding. You can also see that there's some federal funding and some of the smaller portion of donation and fees and things like that. But this is the second largest source of revenue that our district receives.
Does that mean a 4-year, is that how long this levy lasts?
Yeah, so this is a 4-year replacement levy, and the one previously was 4 years, and roughly speaking, it's about the same every year. That state funding is just what the state uses with their calculations of how much money us and all the other 295 school districts get in the state. And as Ryan said, it's like the state just funds from the beginning bell to the ending bell, so they don't fund the athletics, they don't fund extracurriculars, they don't fund the transportation to and from, field trips that are ancillary to the school day. That all comes with levy dollars. So the next question is, how do levies work? So when you have your property values increase, your state property taxes increase. So if we set that aside, levies work differently. They work kind of opposite from that. So as a school district, voters approve a set capped amount of money. So for instance, next year for us, it would be $16.1 million. That can't change. So if your property values go up, the rate that a property owner pays goes down so that they pay about the same as for the next year. If you have a question.
You say that this EPO levy's estimated cost per month for an owner of $500,000 home is $59.
Yes.
So if the levy fails, they would be saving $59?
They would get a zero on the tax bill if the levy doesn't get passed, correct.
But if it passes, they wouldn't see an increase, it would just be the same $59.
Generally across the school district, yes, but we don't forecast for individual tax owners. So somebody could improve their house, or the county could decide that your house is drastically more valued, and that would change the calculations a little bit. But generally speaking, it's about the same. It's a good question.
The other thing I would mention, Evan, is that if students move out of the district, we lose enrollment, so to speak, we wouldn't collect that full amount, and we cannot collect more than that. 16 million is the amount that you see in the middle of that chart up here. We can't collect more than that. There's a lid set on this levy.
So it's a little different. People just don't quite know or understand that, and that makes sense because you're not sitting at home trying to figure out how your taxes and levies are functioning. But that's why we're on this educational campaign, and it's proven valuable so far. Does that answer your question, or?
Yes. In other words, even if you've got a fantastic increase in enrollment for whatever weird reason, you couldn't get more than 16 million.
Correct. And each year we're asking for a little bit more, as you see on your handout there, 16.1, and then I think it goes up to 16.8 maybe. And that's largely because our demographer is forecasting that the Stanwood-Camano area is going to grow. And so we're expecting to get to about 5,000 students by the year 2028, 2029.
10 years from now.
Sooner than 10 years now. But so that's part of our figuring into the math there. But if enrollment comes in lower, then we collect lower amounts. So while we can't collect more, we will collect less if that is the case. So then, how do we spend that levy money? Where does it go? And I believe you asked that question earlier. So here it is.
Right. And thanks. The levy pays for programs and people. And you can see from this chart, there's a difference between what the state funds in that what we defined as basic education earlier, and what our community and our schools have come to know to need to run an orderly school environment that's safe. And so we like to point out a couple of these that you can see on the screen. First of all, we see a disparity in safety. So the state funds 0.8, so about a 6-hour-a-day employee across our whole district of 10 schools. And we definitely need more than that. The community says that we need more than that. And so we fund 9.2 employees in the realm of safety, security, and supervision. So the levy makes up that gap, so to speak, that if the levy wasn't there, we'd have to make decisions about what do we continue to staff and at what rate. So that's a big one. Deputy Bud McCurry is our school resource officer. On site at Stanwood-Camano, we have school security officers, patrol across all of our campuses as well. So that's one that we like to point out. And then, of course, you can see the big zero there at the bottom. We define basic education to start, and athletics doesn't fall in basic education, different than Tennessee, like you mentioned earlier. And all of our athletics coaches are funded by our levy.
Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting to see that gap. This is why the state allows school districts to run levies, is kind of to figure out what they want to spend their money on in their local communities, because it could be different in Seattle than it is here in Stanwood-Camano. And we need a little more nursing than the state provides us, and so we use the levy dollars to fill that gap.
So if the levy didn't pass, you wouldn't be able to add that 5.5 people up on top.
We would have to make very tough decisions about the positions we fund with the basic ed money. Correct. So if the levy didn't pass, we'd have to make those decisions.
And basically, if it doesn't pass, everything's on the table, and we involve the community to kind of come together to figure out how to spend what remaining dollars we have, because we have to have a balanced budget. And then we like to end with just kind of how we compare, because people have been asking, how does our tax rate compare to some of the neighboring tax rates and across the state? So if you take this big replacement levy tax, the EP&O levy, and compare it to all the other 295 school districts across the state and rank the highest one at the top down to the lowest one, we fall at 189th. So that's good to know. And in the 14 school districts in Snohomish County, we rank down at 11th. And in this upcoming ballot, we're not the only school district that has this levy on the ballot. Arlington is asking its voters for $1.65, excuse me. Lakewood for $1.73. Mount Vernon's asking for $2.50, and we're asking for Camano voters $1.42 for every $1,000 of assessed value. So just good information to know as you get your ballots in the mail in a couple days. So any questions?
Done an excellent job.
Good.
Well, you can always call us at the school district, email us at the school district. There's information on these flyers that are here. Those of you online can certainly email or call in as well. We're February 13th is the election day. February 13th. 13th, yes.
Yep.
And all mail-in ballots, so Camano residents probably have received their ballots already, and Stanwood residents will any day now.
So
Does this usually pass every time?
That's a really good point.
That is
That's
a
a
good
great
question.
point. Some would call it a tradition. Since 1964, this levy, used to be called M&O for maintenance or operation, has passed consecutively. So it's about 64 years this levy in this community has been supported. Yes. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.